Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Today is day one of our 5-day challenge. I am Sarah. I am blessed and humbled and grateful to be able to lead this group and share all of this wonderful goodness with you guys this week. Just for housekeeping purposes, as you log in, please write hello on the comments or put a little emoji on the comments so that I know we're live. Sometimes it takes a little bit for the Facebook feed to get started. So hi Colleen, hi Deborah, thank you so much for watching. The first thing here is to just kind of introduce ourselves. So I guess I just told you a little bit about me. On Friday, I did a live with a little bit about my story and how I became the teacher that I am today. So if you want to learn more about me, you can check out the announcements tab. It's like a 40-minute story of where I've been, where I come from, etc. But I think that I've gotten to know a lot of you as the weeks have gone by in this group. So instead of spending time telling you about me, I want to introduce you to Katie. Katie has been studying with me for about 5 years or so. She completed the level 1 certification, the level 2 certification, the Reiki level 1 and 2 certification. And so when I started this group, I kind of tagged her and said, would you help me kind of lead the pack here and share some of your goodness with them as well? So want to share a little bit about you with the groups, just get started.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie. Like Sarah said, I've been working with her for about a little over 5 years now. I originally started with Sarah just taking yoga classes when she had an actual brick and mortar studio in New Jersey, because I live in New York and I literally live 2 miles from the New Jersey border. So I worked with her for about a year, and then she kind of switched things around and started doing the yoga training and focusing more on her Reiki. So I took the yoga training, which is something I thought I would never do. I took it mainly because I wanted to learn more of the philosophical aspects of yoga and how to modify yoga for myself, because I've had some injuries and things like that. And just kind of started on that path and kept going. I ended up doing the yoga level 2, which became way more intense. When I first started with Sarah, I had done like spiritual pursuits, and I actually studied Reiki before I knew Sarah, and things like that, and took classes about, communicating with people who crossed over and meditation and chanting. And I did all that, but I kind of wasn't, sorry, truck's going by. I wasn't awake, I guess you could say. I was at the very beginning of my journey. And then when I met Sarah and started working with her, I also started to do private Reiki with her and working one-on-one with the life coaching and all that. And that's when I started to awaken and realize what was really going on in my life and my life situation. So that's why I kept continuing with her. And now it's been an interesting experience this year working remotely, because I always thought you'd be here. But you're not. So it's been a very different experience, a lot, actually deeper experience, I think, because it's really like getting to the root and having a smaller amount of time and having to go at what's really going on and focus on it. So it's been a little more intense, but I've learned a lot, and it's helped me to really grow and definitely awaken and start my process up the mountain even more.
Thank you so much. So I'm gonna ask you to share a little bit more details on your story later on in the video. For now, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to just introduce so that everybody knows, like, why is there two people on the screen, what's going on. So as you realize now, Katie has come a long way, and she is going to contribute today to our goal, which is sacred space. And she's going to be talking to us a little bit about, the challenges that she encountered when creating sacred space, and just some tips and tricks as of how to set it up. I'm going to focus more on the energy behind it, the importance of it, and why it needs to be done, and give you some practical advice. And so before we dive into all of that, the first thing that I want to do is just kind of a little bit of housekeeping. This is my very first time running a challenge, so I have done the best I could to send out as many emails and reminders and automated posts as I could, and I've checked and double checked and triple checked all the links. But of course, whenever you're running something online, if there's technical difficulties, then just feel free to call me, DM me through Facebook, and I'll try and help. Make sure that my email's marked as not spam, because if not, some of the notifications, workbooks, reminders might end up in your spam box. And so the first thing that I want to do is kind of share a little bit of the big picture, the goal of this challenge, and what we're really going to be focusing on. So my intention is to share with you as much information as I possibly can regarding how to create a mindfulness practice. There's so many options out there, and so many ways to do it, and so many teachers and so many styles. And I want you to have a roadmap for finding the one that is right for you. I'm a great teacher, I've studied a lot, but I'm not everybody's teacher. And I want you to know what is it that you need to be looking for based on your specific needs. But also I want to give you a roadmap as of, okay, how does the mind work? And what is the purpose of the mind, and why is the reason that we want to train our mind? I want to talk about our emotions. Why are they there? Why are they so powerful? What do you do with negative emotions? Things like that. Then I want to talk a little bit about the obstacles that you might encounter as you go through this journey, from laziness to doubt to confusion to all of those things, and kind of just address what we can do to overcome those obstacles so that you can really stay on the path. So that's kind of like a big picture of what we're going to be covering. Today's focus is going to be sacred space, and the importance of setting up sacred space and how to set it up. So I like to start by just doing a quick poll here and find out how many of you guys have a little corner in your home that you currently use for either meditation or yoga or Reiki or Tai Chi or whatever it is. Or maybe if it's your bedroom and it's your bed, like, what do you currently have? Do you have maybe a specific room that you go to? Just so that I have an idea of where you guys are. And while you do that and you put in your comments in there, I want to let you know that at the end of every day, we're going to do a little raffle. So for anyone who comments while we're live and anyone who comments during the replay, we're going to be doing a little raffle. So Katie today has offered, and you can share what it is that we're going to raffle today, Katie.
I'm also a clinical aromatherapist, so I offered one of my favorite blends that I make, which is the one that everybody ends up loving. It's called Ground and Uplift. It's a great blend for when you're doing yoga, meditation, trying to relax. It's very grounding, but yet uplifting. So I'm going to blend a small bottle of that and send it out to whoever wins.
Okay. So put in your comments below. I see Faye says I use my office, and Christina says she's got a workout space. So the first thing about your sacred space, the most important thing is that it has to be yours. Sometimes we have a situation where maybe you share the space with a couple of kids and a couple of dogs and a partner or whatever. and it's not necessarily yours, and that might not be possible. Like you might have to kind of like put it up when it's time to practice and put in all your goodies around, and then you kind of have to take it down because the space is being used for something else. If that's the case, then you really want to make sure that you have like a systematic way. Maybe keep all of your goodies in a special box, or maybe have some sort of like screen or curtain that kind of separates and sets that intention, so that when you go into that space and you put on that curtain or you start to take the things out of your box, then you know that it is me time, and that this is sacred time that I spend in my day with me. It's kind of like making a date with yourself. We spend all day serving, especially as women, at work, at home, our kids, so many things that we have to juggle and handle. And this is the place where you come back to you. So this space and the way that you create the space needs to be very personal, and it needs to feel like it's nobody's but yours. And Katie, can you comment a little bit about what that's like and why that's important for you to have a space where you go back and reset?
Well, it's energetically, it's very important, because when you're around other people, their energy starts to get mixed with yours. So when you have your own personal space, it's nice because it's energetically, you set it just for yourself. And I know it's a challenge because of the situation where I'm living right now. Honestly, my sacred space is my bed. I have my pillows, I have my candles, I have an oil diffuser in my bedroom. That's really the only space I have that is not shared right now, which hopefully will change soon. But right now I have to do what I have to do. So I understand the challenge, but I make that little space in my bedroom mine because I don't have to share that. So that's my little sacred space area. I'm also trying to clean out a little area in the basement right now, which hasn't been very successful because I have to share all of that space. But, whatever little space you can find, even if it's you have your own bathroom or you have your own bedroom, it's just important to have a place where it's just your energy and you set it, the intention for yourself there. And it's in your head, you always know that's the place you can go to be relaxed or just take a breath, even if it's 5 minutes to take a breath.
Yeah, to find your center again. So it is a symbolic but very, very important part. And this is, I thought about doing this for day one, and I'm like, oh gosh, the last thing that we need is to send you guys. I want this to be a successful challenge. I want to give you daily tasks that you do, and then at the end of the week, you feel like you've literally accomplished what you set out to accomplish this week, that your time was well spent. And the first task I'm going to give you right now is, if you don't have a room, you need to find one. But at the beginning, when I thought about doing that, I'm like, wait a minute. The last thing that I need you to do is start decluttering your entire house, because that's just going to get you so far off track from where we need to go this week. And so one of the things that I want to really emphasize is start small. Start with what you have. If you already have a space, today I want you to spend 10 minutes just dusting it and, putting fresh flowers or a new little plant around, or something that symbolizes and says, this week I am going to kind of hit the reset button and I'm going to start again. Because sometimes we might have a corner and it just sits there empty, collecting dust for a few weeks, and we're like, yeah, I'm going to go to my corner, I'm going to go to my chair, to my bed, to whatever the sacred space is. And you have it just for show, and you're not really using it very often. So today, the first step is to reset it. You can clear space using essential oils. You can clear space using, and I don't know, Katie, maybe you can share some ideas as of something that might be laying around the house. If people have oils, that would be a good cleansing, clearing.
Yeah, you can clear space by, if you happen to have sage oil, that's probably the best one to use. But cedar wood, tea tree oil, lavender, lemongrass,
Oh, excellent choices. I use all of those.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a few more, but those would be my biggies, I would say, probably just to clear. But if you have the sage oil, that is like the best because
I
it's
really
equivalent to
like
burning sage.
I like both the tea tree and the lemongrass. You could also use Palo Santo if you're
Yeah,
familiar with that. Those are these little
yeah.
wood sticks that you kind of just smudge the space with. I
They make Palo
use,
Santo oil too. So
oh, I didn't know that. You
yeah,
could
it's an essential oil.
frankincense, Kristen's right. Frankincense is
Yeah.
an excellent cleansing oil. You could also, I personally like to burn sage, actual like dry white sage.
Hmm.
And I have a mix that I put together and I kind of just go with the smudge pot. So if you need to cleanse space in any symbolic way, and listen, if you don't have any of this, just give it a good dust and Febreze if you have to. No, maybe not Febreze. The point is, it needs to be fresh. It needs to be inviting. So if it's been a little sleepy for a while and you haven't been using it, today your task is for 10 minutes, and I really don't want you to spend more than 10, 20 minutes if you have to do a little bit of cleanup to get that space refreshed. If you don't have a space, then I want you to actually like clear something and make a space. So start to give some thought about what that's going to look like and just make it happen. So whatever's in the spot that you need, and literally has to be enough for you to sit. It doesn't have to be an entire room. I want you to move whatever's in there, whatever clutter's in there, and I don't want you to get it caught up trying to sort through the clutter. You just put it the clutter in the garage or somewhere else, and then you clear that corner and you put a little cushion, or even if it's just a blanket that says this is my blanket and one little candle, and that's your sacred space. Why? Because it's going to set the intention for the week. As we go through the week, tomorrow I'm going to give you a second step, and the next day a third step, and the next day a fourth step. And this one, even though it's kind of like a big step because it's sometimes not something that you can do like that, it's gonna set the stage. It's gonna get your system moving in the right direction. Yes, a scented candle is perfect, Myra. Katie, anything else that you want to add to that?
I mean, if they want to kind of cleanse the area, an easy way to do it would be I would boil water in a small pot on the stove, and you can throw in like fresh lemon peel, fresh orange peel, cinnamon or clove, just to get something nice and fresh and natural aromatic if you don't have oils, and kind of like boil it for a few minutes, and with the steam, just kind of swish the steam around and let it sit and like give a nice fragrance to the air, and just it, especially like the lemon and the orange or even grapefruit, will be like really fresh and clean smelling. So that would be a nice way of just getting a nice scent into the area after you dusted and cleaned without using like product.
Yeah, sorry, that was a bad idea. Forget the Febreze. I was just thinking. Bad idea.
I like the Febreze bamboo because they're more natural ones, but if you want to do it without product, that's kind of a nice way of just getting a little scent in the area.
Thank you so much for the reroute. Okay, so the other thing here is it doesn't have to be perfect. So your space will evolve as you evolve, and you will see that. So in order to get started, all you need is a sacred space where you can go to and it becomes yours. And then as you sit there, it will come to you. Oh, this would feel nice. Oh, this will feel nice. You can put crystals. Little by little, you can begin to decorate the space. And even once you decorate it, we're girls, so we like to shift stuff around, and in a few weeks, that's gonna change, and you're gonna want something else. So, candles, flowers, plants, essential oils, inspirational quotes. If there's something that you're working on, like energetically, emotionally, that you need to be improving, and you have maybe affirmations that you use, you want to put those on your space. If you have a dream board or a vision board and you are looking at that every day, your sacred space is a really good place to put that vision board. Oh, there's an idea for a workshop right there.
um, They could also, if they want, the other things that I do, I have like a really pretty small flower pot and I fill it with kosher sea salt. And I either put incense in it or I put my candle on top of it, or or crystals on top of it. It's a way of cleansing the environment, kind of like, or a salt lamp, or a diffuser for oils, a small diffuser. Any of those work, but I like the salt personally.
That's a great idea. So salt lamps, salt collects negative energy. So if you just keep a bowl of salt in a corner in your sacred space, it will be constantly cleansing it for you. You also want to make sure that it's well lit and well ventilated if at all possible. Now, when I started, I didn't have that luxury, and all I really had available in my house was a little corner next to the boiler downstairs in the basement because the rest of my house was taken by kids and life. And so I didn't necessarily have a window. I had a tiny one of those little basement windows that didn't really open. Plus, it was a little bit cold most of the time if the furnace was not on. So you want to make sure that is as best as you can make it. So you want ventilation if at all possible, you want sunlight if at all possible, and if you're having temperature issues, you need to make sure that you have a blanket there, a little eye pillow, a little pair of socks that you keep by, because in order for you to really connect with yourself when you go into the space, the body, the physical body, has to be comfortable. If the physical body is too cold or too hot or just not in an environment that supports it, then that takes energy away from the work that you need to be doing. So it's like your little home inside your home, and it needs to be comfortable, like almost if you were a small child and you were to go into that little corner where you go into to just nurture yourself and love yourself. And we'll talk about the different practices and the different things that you can do in this corner, because they might change as you go along. They might change depending on the time of the day that you practice. They might change depending on your needs. And I'm going to talk a lot more as the week goes by as of all of that. But for today, the main goal is to create a space that's right for you. Katie, what else?
I think we kind of hit a lot of it.
Yeah, we did. Okay. So, you could have a little bit of music. I actually love having a little, whatever you use. I like old-fashioned CD players, just because that's where I play my Reiki music on.
Me too.
But depending on what you use for music, feel free to put a little bit of music in there and just make it really, really nice and comfy. Okay, because that's going to be your foundation for the rest of the week. So, give me a show of hands with like happy faces or emojis. Who's committing to creating? How long are you going to spend doing your space today? What have you found helpful from the conversation that we're having that you are planning to implement today? And do you have any questions?
I was going to say, as they get, you get more acclimated to your space. I know, I've studied Buddhist philosophy, so they're very big into having altars. So, I mean, if that's something that you have in your background or you're comfortable with, that, everybody's faith is different, having symbols of your teacher, or I keep a Ganesha, which is, he's the Buddhist god who looks kind of like an elephant. He's like the remover of obstacles. I also keep something to represent the angels because I believe in the archangels. So just having those things around your sacred space is a nice thing too.
Yes. So this is gonna be our foundation. Oh, good. So sometimes the comments take a little bit of time to come to me. So here they come. They like the salt idea. They like the blankets idea, the mantras and affirmations. Good, good, good. And you're committing to sprucing your space. That's what the happy faces are for. So the task for today is once your space is done, there's going to be a daily live post on the units. And when you go to the units and you go to today's post, it's going to say day 105, post your homework here. And then you can put in there, I did my space, it took me 10 minutes. I did my space, it took me 20 minutes. I am working on this, whatever it is your update. If you want to post a picture of your space, feel free to post a picture of your space in the comments when you see the daily post. It's going to say day 105, post your homework here, right under the units. And then when you comment on that daily post, that's what will qualify you to enter the drawing. Oh, somebody said incense. How can we forget incense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I put that into the salt instead of using an incense burner.
I put my incense in sand because the salt gets dirty. So I like sand or dirt. Well, dirt can catch fire. So I have had bad experiences where I put my incense in dirt, and the next thing you know, the entire pot's on fire because the dirt was like combustible. So you could also put incense in dirt. That is a really helpful trick so that it doesn't leave all the dust around. And crystals. If you have any crystals, amethyst is very healing. Rose quartz is very loving. We have lots and lots of options for crystals. There, Celeste has a crystal shop, and somewhere in the Facebook group, if you just go to the search and you look for crystals, her post will probably come up. She just did a presentation for us like 2 weeks ago, and she has a little crystal shop that you can go to. So what you're really looking for is you're looking for a way to make this space your own, and that it's inviting, and that it's a place that you look forward to going to read, to journal, to meditate, etc. And so this is the beginning of the journey, and I want to give you guys time to do it, but I don't want you to get all caught up in trying to make it perfect. I just want you to spend as much time as you need to make it happen. So the two most important things is it has to be yours and it has to get done. Okay, by tomorrow at this time, go on the comments and say, I did my little space, and here's a picture. If you feel comfortable posting a picture, you don't have to post a picture. That's your action step. And then as we go through the week, tomorrow we're going to talk about the mind. We're going to talk about the functions of the mind. A quick glimpse into that right now is the mind basically has the function of imagination, which is to create your future or to worry about your future, depending on how you choose to use it. The function of memory, which can help you to either stay stuck in the past, okay, and continuously rehash your problems without being able to move forward, or it can help you remember your name and remember where you live and all of these beautiful things. It has the function of understanding. So the reason that you can have a conversation with someone is because there's a level of consciousness where we can communicate and share knowledge with each other. And just like we're doing right now in a very simple but symbolic way, we are sharing knowledge. And so understanding helps you to navigate this earth. But then we also have misunderstanding, which is to either expect the wrong thing or perceive the wrong thing. And a lot of the times when we're suffering in life, that is the main reason why we suffer, because we are suffering from misunderstanding. And so tomorrow we're going to talk about that, and I'll give you more action steps and exercises about what to do and how to journal about what you discover from your mind and how it works and where it's at. And then the next day we'll talk about emotions and how to use them to learn to grow. Emotions can give you so much information if you know where to look and how to use them and how to see them with clarity and let them flow through. And then the fourth day, we're going to talk about the different practices. So after you have understood how the mind works and how your emotions work, then on the fourth day, we're actually going to roll up our sleeves and answer a lot of questions about the best time to practice, what kind of practice is the right practice for you, how to set up goals for your practice, how to track them, things like that. But I don't want to jump ahead into give you a practice right away without having the foundations. The foundation is you need a space to practice. You need to understand how the mind works and why you're looking to train your mind. You need to understand how your emotions work and how they tie into your spiritual journey and consciousness. And then once we understand that and you understand, how the system works and how the matrix works, then we can begin to go ahead and design a practice that's right for you at the right time of the day, depending on your level of strength, flexibility, stamina, depending on what else you're juggling in your life, kids, work, and everything else. And then on the last day, we're going to talk about the obstacles and what should you expect. Because, we're getting on this journey in 5 days. My goal is to give you a map as of what to look for and how to step forward into creating this sustainable mindfulness practice. And then by the end of the week, I want you to really have a roadmap, but then you need to know that it's going to be a journey, and I want to prepare you with the obstacles that you might encounter so you have an idea and you don't go into the following week and just go, oh man, that it's not working. No, it's not working, and this is probably why, because you hit one of these obstacles. But if you know to expect them, and you know how the mind works, and you know how the emotions work, and you know why it's a little bit difficult to sustain your practice, and you have the tools that you need to create it in a sustainable way, with this knowledge, you'll actually be able to stick with your practice this time, because a lot of the times it's a matter of perception and understanding. And there's one more thing that I really want to cover before we go, and that is making time for your practice, which you could say falls under creating sacred space. We can call it created sacred time. A lot of the times we think that when we go away into our little corner, we are failing at other things. We carry these guilt. Who can give me a show of hands when you go go into your little corner or your little room to make room for yourself? On a scale of 1 to 10, I don't know, that's a tough, but say it. I love it, I have no guilt, or I have a little bit of a nagging feeling because I should be doing dishes or taking care of the kids, or I left work early, or I'm gonna be late for work because I'm choosing to take care of myself today. Where are you at on the spectrum of not just creating space for yourself, but also creating time for yourself? Katie, any thoughts on that?
Oh, well, I know I have a lot of guilt about when I take time for myself. And that was a struggle for me. And I have to say, now that's something that I don't feel bad about anymore. I used to feel really bad about it. I mean, when I first started with Sarah, I used to come, I'm a nurse full time. That's what I do. And I used to work night shift. And I used to remember getting out of work, driving from Bergen County, New Jersey to Sarah's class. And I would be in her parking lot in my car, like, and she'd be showing up and I'd knock on my window where I'd see her because I would set my alarm, and I was exhausted, but I went to that class. So that's kind of what got me into the habit of, you need to, even if it's once or twice a week, you got to find the time for yourself. So now I've kind of gotten the whole other side of it. Now I can't feel guilty about it.
Yeah, some of my students are typing in no guilt anymore. Sarah helped me to get rid of any guilt that I might have ever had.
I don't have kids, so, I know with kids, and most of the people I work with have kids, and I tell them that you can't feel guilty, even if it's just 5 minutes. You can't have that guilt, because if you're not in the right place and you're not mentally and physically taking care of yourself for a small amount of time, you don't have energy to give to them. So you can't feel guilty about powering your battery so that you can power everybody else. If you don't power your battery, you can't give. You have nothing to give. So it's important that you think of it that way if you have to.
Okay, so I have a couple of comments here that I want to comment on. So good for you guys. The correct answer is no guilt, but I understand sometimes our mind is not necessarily programmed that way, or you might maybe intellectually understand that there should be no guilt, but then there's a little quiet little voice that's still nagging at you about all the things that you should be doing. So make sure that that guilt is not unconscious, because it's easy to say, no, I know, but to know and to do and to know and to be are two different things. So if you're really no guilt, high five, sister. That's where you need to be. If you understand that you shouldn't have guilt, but still can't quite find the time, I want you to explore, because one of the things is it's funny, we make commitments to so many people, family commitments, work commitments, all sorts of different commitments. And then when we make a commitment to ourselves, we don't always stick with it the way that we should. And that comes, and this is one of those things where I'm just going to say it. It's a lack of love and respect for yourself. If you are not actually following through and making time for yourself, it honestly means that you're not taking yourself seriously enough. If you had made that commitment to someone else, chances are you would show up. So why are you not showing up for yourself? And I would invite you to journal about it and say, wow, that makes sense. Why can't I find time for myself? I want to commit to myself. What is it that is preventing me? Someone asked about the puppy. I don't know what my puppy's gonna do. Puppies are puppies. Puppies are trainable. So puppy's an excuse. Sorry. This is where, as a teacher, I'm like,
for an hour.
Say that again.
Trust me, as a person who has a dog, puppies can go in the kennel for an hour. You can crate train them.
Yeah, so you have to be ruthless. I mean, we're talking about mastering the self, mastering yourself. Puppy than it is to train you. So the first step is, I would say, start training the puppy. And by training the puppy, who you're actually training is you're training yourself to not make the puppy an excuse not to do it or to whatever. Once I sit down, it's great, but sometimes it's hard to take the initial step. Yes. And tomorrow, when we talk about the emotions and we talk about the mind, I will explain to you why it's hard to take that initial step. I hear you. We all know we should be doing it, and then somehow it just, something else seems to come up. Why is that? There's a trick to that. It's not that simple. So I'll talk a little bit about that. And I know that sometimes I'm very direct, and I'm like, go train your puppy. But
in comments to the puppy, you could also use it to your advantage, especially if you have other people in the house. If you have a puppy or a dog, you can take the dog to the park, take the dog for a walk. You're not physically alone, but you're mentally alone. And you can walk with the dog and make it like a walking meditation between the two of you once you leash train them. So you can use the puppy as a positive excuse.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. Puppies are just like kids. This applies to your kids too. And now puppies are easy compared to kids. I mean, depending on how old your kids are. I'm not saying go leave your 3-year-old unsupervised, right? I'm just saying if you have a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, and you know that they're not gonna burn the house while you're in your little room for 15 minutes, you need to train them. And you need to say to them, okay, starting that time, and you put a little sign on the door that says meditation time for mommy, and you quote unquote lock that door and you train them. At the beginning, they're gonna knock on the door, they're gonna want your attention, they're gonna create drama to try and pull you away from whatever it is you're doing. But I have to tell you, by training them, you're also training yourself. And by training yourself, you're training them. And when that works harmoniously, you both benefit. So it might take some retraining to the people around you as well. Sometimes if you have a partner and you say, okay, I'm going to meditate at this certain time, and let's say it's bedtime and it's 8:30, and you want to do it right before bed. And now they come to bed early, and there goes your space. You know, and so you would have two choices in that case. You could either lovingly say, you know, I'm trying to meditate before bed. I know this is our bedroom, but can I ask you that, you know, starting tomorrow, you don't have to kick him out right away, depending on the situation and how, you know, your relationship is like. Starting tomorrow, can we please let me have the room from 8 to 8:30 or whatever it is, or in the morning from this time to that time, because I'm really trying to, out of love and respect for myself. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to do it out of love and respect for yourself. I do not want you to use this as an excuse to pick a fight. And now that they're in my space, they're in my room, and I told you not to come in, that's not how I want you to do this. I want you to like genuinely, because it's not helpful. That's going to be unproductive. So I want you to like genuinely know that you're doing this out of love for yourself, so that when you set the boundaries, whether it be with the puppy, with the kids, or with the partners, or the friends, or the roommates, or whatever, you do it from a place of love and respect for yourself. And then that's going to actually make it a lot more friendly. But you might have some unhappy customers along the way, and I have to tell you, that's part of the process. That's part of the training. That's part of creating sacred space. That's what you actually need to do. That is why your system is suffering. That's why there's inner conflict in there, because you're not taking those hard steps. And you know, if somebody was listening to this, they would say, no, that's so easy. Make room in my house, keep the puppy in the crate, tell the kids to leave me alone for 15 minutes, and tell my partner to not bother me for 15 minutes. Sounds so simple, right? If you put it on paper, it's like, oh, sure, no problem. When you go to real life, all of those 5 obstacles are going to come up. And so how do you overcome them? You come from a place of, I am committed to myself. I am here to honor and respect my spirit. And we'll talk about why that's important tomorrow. And, you know, what's the whole point of training the mind? Like, why can't we just keep going through life with our jobs and our money making and our vacations and our pleasure seeking without this part? And the short answer to that is because you're not on earth to waste your time. You're just not. You're not on earth to make money and have adventures and, you know, seek pleasure and success and titles all the time. Those are things that happen as part of your journey on earth, but they are not the goal. They are tools to reach the spiritual goal. But if you don't have a spiritual practice that you are consistent and serious about, then you're wasting your time on earth. And then you don't have the clarity that you need to navigate through all of these other external situations. So your practice is important because it allows you to then use earth as the school that it's supposed to be. But if you don't have a daily check-in with your conscious self to see, okay, how am I doing today? What am I struggling with today, mentally, physically, emotionally? If you don't have that sacred space and time that you make with yourself each and every day, then you get caught up in the world and you get lost. And that's why you suffer. If you are anchored in your spiritual practice and your spiritual intention, then every day you go to your little corner, you check in and you check in and you and then from that place you gain clarity and non-reactiveness and peace. And from that place, you can go out and live, actually have all the adventures you want, make all the money you want, have all the pleasure you want to a certain degree, as long as it's not healthy, as long as it is healthy, okay? But stay connected to your spirit. And so when we talk on day 4 about the different practices, we're going to talk about that too, and how the practice evolves. And if you want to listen to my story in my video, the one that's on the announcements tabs, I have a tag that says meet the teachers. You'll meet a little bio on Katie and Lizette and myself, and mine is actually just a video that I recorded on a live last Friday. You will see how my personal practice has evolved over the last 20 years. Where I started and what used to serve me then is not the same thing that serves me now, and it continues to evolve. but it's that anchor of having that spiritual little corner of space and time for you to honor your spirit that begins the journey. And so, as interesting as it is, that's how I wanted to start this 5 days, because without that space and time, nothing else that we're going to cover for the rest of the week is really going to matter. You can have all the understanding in the world, but if you don't have that commitment to yourself to make time and space for yourself, then it doesn't matter how much you understand. Katie, anything else that you want to add to that before we close?
I think also in terms of like finding a place for your space and taking, like how you're talking about with kids, taking that 15 minutes, it's also like once you know you can do it for yourself, it's also a great opportunity for you to teach your kids to do it and to teach your partner to do it. Because sometimes people around you, I haven't seen it so much with my direct family, but with friends, when I'm around them and see them, they get curious about what I'm doing and they ask to be, trained, or because I teach yoga as well, obviously, because I was certified by Sarah. They ask about it and they're interested in it. So, especially with kids, when you model behavior and learn how to quiet the system, they're gonna notice that, and it's gonna start to rub off on them. And it's a good way for you to teach them, like, okay, it's my 15 minutes. Why don't you take 15 minutes in your room? I don't care if it's quietly playing or reading a book, like whatever the kid likes to do, that's non-electronic. Let them have that time too. And this is our me time, and call it me time or whatever you want to call it. And then you'll also notice too that like my friends and stuff, the adults will be interested, who are in the right frame of mind to want to start learning. They're going to be interested and look to you when they see that you're committed to doing it. So you may see a shift in the people around you too, which is kind of interesting after you learn to commit to yourself and do it.
I'm going to just put in there, Katie doesn't have kids. I do. Electronics are fine when needed. Okay.
15 minutes. Teach them to have quiet time.
Listen, if you gotta play with electronics for 15 minutes so that I can have my quiet time, be my guest. Look, which game do you want to play, kid? Go, go, go. This is my bribe. Sometimes kids need to be bribed. I love the idealism, though, Katie, of like just discipline.
Hey, I was a teacher for 15 years. I taught kids, and I made them do quiet activities, and some of them actually looked forward to it, because some people don't like all that crazy energy. So some of the kids did enjoy it.
It has to come naturally from them. So what you need to do is you need to go into quiet time. They need to leave you alone. If they need to use a device in order to leave you alone, until then, that's fine. But sooner or later, you're right, they will get curious. It's like, what's up with mommy? She's just sitting over there. I'm going to try it. And they'll sit there with you. They'll come over to do yoga with you. They'll learn. But you do it by example. You cannot make a kid just do a quiet activity. They're either there or they're not. And my job is to train you. So I love it because Henriette says, oof, that's a little tough love. Henriette, I give a lot of tough love. Sometimes I feel like I get a little...
Yeah. I'm used to it.
That's what's going to get you out. Listen, if you want a teacher to cuddle you and validate your excuses and give you a soft little, warm touch, I am the one. I'm like the real deal. My job is to get you out and shift you from where you are. And I am sugarcoating things. It doesn't do you any favors. Feeding your ego don't do you any favors. We gotta be real. What we're trying to do here ain't easy. We're not gonna pretend that it is. So you just have to buckle up and trust me, as tough as it is, I know you feel the love. This is why you're calling it tough love, because someone has to have the courage to kind of like set you straight and say, no excuses, no ifs, ands, or buts. You have to be committed. And that's my goal with this challenge, guys. It's like, I really want you to use this as the fire that you need to finally create that transformation in your life and to really do it for real this time. And that needs to be done with zeal. It has to be done in yoga. We call it tapas. It means self-discipline, fire, dedication, sincerity. It's gonna take all you've got. So we can't treat it as like, lovey-dovey, love. No. We're trying to train our systems Oh, where's my slinky? Look, I got a new slinky, Katie. So I just moved out here from New Jersey, and I used to have a slinky in my desk that would explain to students momentum. You have this momentum going this way, and that's where you're gonna land. And I was talking to one of my students this morning, and she's like, well, that's the whole point. This is how they go down the stairs. Momentum, 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 momentum. If you want to change directions and you want the slinky to go the other way, you're going to need a lot of force, a lot of equal energy at a minimum to make it go the other way. And that's not going to happen by cuddling and pretending and being in denial that this is all easy peasy. We need to be real. Never remembers the slinky. Everybody's like, they find it so cute, but I think it's such a great like tool because it really explains, and I use it for a lot. I have lots and lots of lessons that this slinky helps me teach. But
I think the other piece that people have to remember is that this is an imperfect process. I've been working with you for over 5 years. I've been doing practice for over 16, and I still have days where I struggle. The struggle is real. I mean, you can't beat yourself up over it. Sometimes it's literally all I got today is 3 minutes, and that's all I can give. But as long as you do that 3 minutes, you did something, and you can't beat yourself up for, I couldn't sit for a half hour today, or I couldn't do this. Sometimes it's baby steps.
Yes. So you're not trying to run a sprint here, you're trying to run a marathon, and you need to treat it as such. And on day 4, when we talk about the practice that's right for you and how to track and how to measure progress and all of that, I'm going to go into a lot of that, like how to make sure that you stay on course because it's a marathon and it's not a sprint. Okay, one of the things that I do whenever we work is I close sacred space. For those of you who are new to my style of teaching, this might be interesting. But I want you to all, even though I can't see you, which is an interesting thing because I'm learning to feel comfortable in the online world. Thank you for your comments. It lets me know you're there. But let's close sacred space, which means you come to a nice comfortable seat. You bring the palms together at the center of the heart because our hands are our limbs of action. They help us cook and eat and drive and write. And today our hands are going to help us to set that sacred space and take action. And so we bring the palms together at the center of our heart because they're our limbs of action. And we ask that all of our words, our thoughts come from this place of love and light from within. So take just a deep breath, inhale from the crown of the head down into the earth, grounding, feeling connected to your body. Exhale any stress, any tension, anything that is not necessary. Give yourself a big pat in the back for showing up for yourself today, for taking the time to learn, to grow, to evolve, and for being here with us. So thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful afternoon. Namaste. So you're free to log off now. If you have any questions, I'm going to stay live for a second. You can type them in the chat and I'm going to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. Katie, any thoughts, any questions that you think?
I'm good. I think we kind of covered it all as much as we can for today.
Okay.
There's so much more, but those are other days.
Yeah, so I want to keep it simple and practical. I'm gonna stay for about just 1 more minute to see if anybody else wants to type anything else, and if not, I'm gonna let you guys go. I am so deeply grateful for you guys being here and supporting me through this new online journey, you know, because this is all new to me too. And just doing even like this Facebook Lives, as simple as it is, it's been a learned skill to get comfortable in front of the camera and everything. So
it's odd being on this side of the live because when you're on the other side of the live, I can see the comments, and now all I can see is you and not the comments because I'm on through the Zoom. So I'm like, this is kind of weird.
Yeah, the comments are helpful. All right, I'm gonna log off now. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon. Namaste.
Namaste, bye, Sarah.
Bye.